Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everybody.
Pop
Welcome.
culture maniacs.
Welcome. Is that what we're calling our fan base?
You know, I would like to give them a name.
The man babies. I want to call them the babies. Or the babies,
Ooh.
the sweet baby angels.
I like
The
that.
sweet
so,
babies.
So let's pretend you guys didn't just hear us.
Yeah.
And we'll come in and say, Happy New Year, babies.
Hey, babies. It's the pop culture man
Daddies.
children. I don't want to be a pop culture man daddy.
You don't want to be a pop culture man, daddy?
No, but I like calling them the babies.
The babies?
The kids.
All right.
The children.
The kids.
Much like Wu-Tang. We're for the children.
We really are for the children if you think about it.
I mean, absolutely.
We are for man children who don't want to give up that last shred of, dare I say, innocence.
Yes, absolutely. Don't put away your action figures. Let them out. Enjoy them.
As you get older, you will collect things that may or may not have the same joy and value as they once were when you were a kid. Like some people will buy expensive cars. Others will buy a house. Other people like to travel. Me, I like Voltron.
You like sneakers.
I like sneakers. I like WWE action figures from the 90s.
You like T-shirts.
I love T-shirts.
I like graphic shirts.
You do?
I recently just went out and bought more hangers. And I'm not going to use that cheap wire shit that they give you
No,
at the...
no, you can't have that.
Yeah.
I rather fold everything.
Yeah.
I'm a big folder because I
Okay.
don't want the hanger
I
marks.
want to get up like
on the
Cher in Clueless and be able to look at all my shirts and go, what's today going to be? Is it a Star Wars day? Is it right now I'm wearing my Hakuna Matata shirt? Is it a Disney day? I don't know.
See, I can understand where you have that problem. Like, it'll take me a good 5 minutes because everything is folded. I have to look. Or do I want to wear today?
That's the
wrestling?
thing. And then you got to
So-
make you got to make a mess, and it's a whole thing.
But luckily for me, everything is situated in different drawers.
If I could get one of those like Gap end cap things where it's like they're kind of like shelves, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I like that.
But if you hear music in the background, it's because we're recording this on New Year's Eve. It is 11:05 New Year's Eve right now. We're 55 minutes to 2018. Now, you're probably listening to this, Wednesday the 10th?
Maybe 2 weeks. Definitely 2 weeks
Right.
afterwards.
But you're still in the new year mood. The first 2 weeks, you're probably still hitting the gym. You're still trying to not eat that chocolate.
And you'll fail.
Right, and that's all right. You can fail.
How does one better themselves? That's the question.
I've become very anti-resolution. Like on our holiday special, I resolved to read more comic books, and you resolved to do a Muay Thai smoker.
Yes, sir.
And what else?
Oh, I wanted to.
Oh, Star Wars.
Star
You were
Wars,
like,
yeah.
right? And our friend Vin Forte, Anytime Podcast, he resolved to read Dune finally. See, that's the kind of resolution I like because you could do it. It's not a big deal. When people come in, they go, this year I'm going to lose a lot of weight, or this year I'm going to go to the gym every day. I feel like not only are you setting yourself up for failure, you're starting the year on the foot of, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm broken, I need to get fixed.
But
I want to love myself more this year.
I think a lot of people do that, though. I think they...
Yeah, they do.
This time
That's why I
of
think
year,
New Year's resolutions are bullshit.
Like, I think especially this time of year, it gets dark quicker. It's cold.
You get
There's no vegetation.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah. The only animals that are out are the ones that could possibly eat us.
Yeah.
So it's like you're afraid to like yourself, or you're afraid to be happy in some context.
Right. It's the middle of the cold winter. Okay, you're in the darkness. Everything's dead. You've probably gained weight because when there's less sunlight, you carb load. So, and then you're supposed to go, oh, how do I become a better person? I don't know. My resolution, besides read more comic books, is to like go easier on myself, because I'm not easy on myself every other day of the year. I'm pretty hard on myself. So I want to actually love myself more.
I just want to do my best. You might sit there and think, well, Sparks, what is your best? My best is my best. The Marines have a really good philosophy. Just get past the next hour.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
If I can get past the next hour, and then the hour after that, and the hour after that,
Yeah.
and the hour after that, I'm all right, man. I'm good. I can do what I want to do. Now, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I think everybody has goals, but do I necessarily associate those goals with the coming of the new year? No, I do not do that.
I mean, it's an arbitrary date anyway. My favorite saying is also from the Marines. I believe it's the Marines. Every pony equal, every pony loved. No, that's My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Oh, okay.
I always confuse that in the Marine Corps.
Oh, I thought you were going to say every rose has its thorn.
No. Because it's New Year's Eve, what I'm excited about is the two things that happen every New Year's Eve, or New Year's and New Year's Day. There's the Twilight Zone Marathon.
Yes.
And then there's the Honeymooners Marathon.
Yes.
And Twilight Zone, I think, now has moved to basic cable, but Honeymooners is still on
Channel 11.
Channel 11, local, PIX here in New York. But I think it's got to be everywhere, right?
Yeah. I think every CW11, whatever it's called now.
Any affiliate, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
And you've got the Classic 39, because it was only on for one season.
Could you imagine?
That had one season.
39 episodes, but the impact of that 39.
Well, it's because they weren't doing repeats.
Well, Gleason didn't want to do the show after 39.
Well, yeah.
He thought it was, I told everything we were going to tell.
The reason the one season is so perfect is because a lot of those things had been done on stage and on the Jackie Gleason show. So it was like a best of. It was like, we're coming with our best stuff. And he knew if we do season 2 and we start writing stuff from scratch, it's going to be a huge drop-off. They're all on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching episodes for like the last 3 days, basically. Well, the original wife from the Jackie Gleason show, she and her husband, I forget her name, but she and her husband, both actors, were blacklisted during the McCarthy era.
Yeah.
So that's how Audrey Meadows got into it.
Listen,
But he didn't want her. He thought she was too pretty.
She was.
She was beautiful.
But that's the type of wife you
and
want,
I think much
though.
younger than him, too.
Yes. But that's the wife you... I want an Alice Cramden.
She really... Or that show...
She carried that show.
Well, she's
man.
a perfect foil for him. She makes him likable. If she didn't react the way she did to him, he would come off like an abusive asshole.
Yes.
But that show, and she pioneered the beautiful wife with the asshole husband.
Yes, but she also had a feisty attitude where she was still strong and independent at a time when women still had to make the supper for the husband.
Right. That's another reason why I love it.
She went out and got a job. Cramden hated that.
Right.
She would want to...
She controlled the finances even though he was the one who worked.
Yeah.
It wasn't like look, I'm not putting down I Love Lucy. I like Lucy. But that was much more traditional in the 50s. That was, Ricky was the breadwinner, and he also made all the financial decisions. He gave Lucy an allowance.
It just wasn't the financial decisions. It was every decision.
Right. Lucy had to ask for permission for things. Alice didn't ask.
So that's what I like about Alice.
You know, when they were first rehearsing the show, they did a TV movie about Gleason's life where, what's his name? Robert, the brother from Everybody Loves Raymond, played him. What's his name?
Brad Garrett.
And they showed a scene, which I don't know if it's really happened or it's inspired by somebody's biography. I know. Audrey Meadows wrote a biography. It's them rehearsing, and he says, "Bang, zoom," and she steps back. He stops the scene, and he goes, "No. When I threaten you, you can never step back because it makes it look like you're scared, and you're not scared. You know he would never hit you."
Wow.
So you stay where you are.
Yeah.
And you don't look scared ever.
That's great.
And that's the thing, a lot of people look back at it now and they go, well, he is threatening to hit her and stuff. And yes, that's totally anachronistic for our contemporary time. But he really loved her, and he never would hit her.
No, he wouldn't.
She was really the boss. He was so afraid of her. Even when he was all bluster.
Everything he wanted to do was to impress her.
Right, you're absolutely right.
He wanted to make sure she had a better life.
Right, because he did love her. And he knew she was above him.
Oh, my God, yeah. And everybody would say it.
Right.
And he did not put her in the lap of luxury.
I mean, they lived in squalor. It's amazing to think that's one of the most iconic sets in all of television. And it's depressing. I think that's why sometimes younger people that are not familiar with the show, they only vaguely understand it as a cultural icon, and they go, oh, that show's weird and depressing. And it's like, no. Get past it. Because it's supposed to be. Because whenever they show Ed Norton's apartment, It's much less depressing.
It's homely.
He's got shit.
He's got TV. He has a couch.
Right. You know why? Because Ed Norton's in debt.
Yes.
Actually, I was thinking that I can see the Honeymooners coming back into popularity because I feel like millennials would actually really identify with the Honeymooners.
Because
their problem is they're poor. Like, that's the problem. Like, Ralph, Ralph is stupid and he gets into harebrained, get-rich-quick schemes. But he works a full 40 hours a week for the city driving the bus. And Ed Norton works for the city, too, in the sewers. Yeah. So they both work, but they still can't afford anything. As a millennial myself, and I'm at the high end of it because I'm in my mid-30s, I look at that and, like, I was watching the episode where Ralph gets a letter from the IRS that says, you got to come down and talk to us. And he can't sleep because he thinks he's going to be audited. And he thinks they're going to send him to jail because he didn't put down his poker winnings.
Yeah.
All right. And he can't. And then the next day he goes down and he's so nervous and he's confessing. And the guy just goes, oh, you forgot to sign this form. Can you just sign this? And he feels totally relieved. I feel like that's happened to me. That stress of, oh my God, I'm going to have to pay money, or oh my God, I'm in trouble with my taxes. That anxiety, I felt like that's millennial anxiety.
Okay, so I kind of had to Google what it would have been as a bus driver and what they would make in the sewers back then. Somebody broke it down and they go, Norton makes the same weekly salary as Ralph, about $62. Right. That's about $555 in 2016.
Wow.
Could you imagine living off $62?
But what is it in 2016?
$555 weekly.
Right.
Like I make a little less than $555.
Right.
Every 2 weeks.
Right.
Could you
a lot of people make that.
Could you imagine, like,
but
having a house
and
a wife and certain other responsibilities with that? No wonder why you said before, the reason why Norton has nicer stuff is because the Nortons are in debt.
Yeah. It's a running joke that Norton gets everything on layaway. That's why the classic episode where they get the TV, they share a TV because Norton can't get any more credit and Ralph's too cheap to just buy a TV on his own.
Himself. I read about the Classic 39, and they said that The Honeymooners was one of the programs, specifically on CBS and television for that time, that actually aired weekly as a sitcom. It was one of the originals that ran from 55 to 56.
Yeah, that and I Love Lucy, you could argue which one it is, but those are the original sitcoms.
They said that Gleason's contract was supposed to be like $11 million a year for those 3 years that he signed from DuPont to CBS.
Yeah.
And that they were actually beating and competing with I Love Lucy, which was the show at the time. It got to the point where I remember Audrey Meadows in a YouTube hole, because I fell into a YouTube hole about the show, and Audrey Meadows was getting curtains and aprons and other household trinkets because fans wanted to help her live a fancier life.
You know, she made more residuals than anyone because her brother, Audrey Meadows' brother, was a lawyer. And he went with her to sign her contract, and he was like, can you put residuals in there? And this is before there was even really repeats. So yeah, okay, whatever. So she ended up making a lot of money, more than anyone else.
Yeah.
One of the great things about the Honeymooners is they really pioneered fat guy jokes. Really, every episode has at least one really good fat guy joke. I was just watching the Christmas episode, which is the classic. And he gets Ralph the Spanx. Oh, no, the Spats. And he goes, all right. He goes, you know what, Norton? Thank you. I know it's from the heart. And he goes, no, it's not. It's from the Fat Man Shop.
It's from the Fat Man Shop. You know, the best thing about that show is the timeless music in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you know that Gleason composed that himself? He had a orchestra himself known as the Jackie Gleason Orchestra. I used to do a jazz program, or I used to engineer a jazz program. Yeah. I shouldn't say I used to do a jazz program, but I used to engineer and produce a jazz program. And the host would always end with this song called I'll Be Seeing You by the Jackie Gleason Orchestra.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
The music to the Honeymooners, I think, when you hear it, it's sort of, in some ways, it's sort of contradictory to what you're about to watch because it's so melodic and pretty. But it also, sets the tone. When you hear it, it's just sort of this perfect, and then you see him in the moon. It really, like, I don't know. It's something very. It sort of almost makes you think of what's underneath the bluster, which is that they actually are all in love and they're just trying to do their best. You look at sitcoms now, even like something like The Big Bang Theory. There's the living room department, but then there's also the bedroom. There's where they work. Honeymooners is basically, I mean, many episodes are just one location. Just that little shitty looking kitchen. It was like watching a play. And you could tell, I mean, I love watching them screw up. I love watching them improvise.
Well, that's because Gleason felt that if you were to rehearse, you would lose the spontaneity. Like, it would rob something from the viewing audience.
And apparently he had a photographic memory. So he would read it once and then be like, all right, I'm good.
You know, he really was a overall, like
Renaissance man.
Renaissance. He was that good.
Yeah. He was a bit of a bastard and a drunk.
I mean, what person wasn't a bastard and a drunk back then, though?
Well, Joyce Randolph, who's still alive, she never even called him Jackie.
It was Mr. Gleason?
Mr. Gleason.
But I get a kick out of Jackie Gleason because here you have...
He's great in Smokey and the Bandit.
Well, here you have at this time, or the way society maybe even did it, these slender, handsome fellows, i.e. Cary Grant.
Yeah.
Or Richard Nevin at that point.
Yeah.
They were handsome, they were debonair, they were dashing. Here you had, quote-unquote, a leading man on television.
As Ralph, he's never wearing anything but his work uniform.
It's very rare. Either you'll see him in the bowling shirt or the Raccoon Lodge outfit.
Right.
But for the most part, no, you've never seen Jackie Gleason outside of his one costume.
Yeah.
To me, I think that speaks volumes about the performer and how he captured America at that specific time.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you had, America was it still is, very vain. And people like pretty and handsome and skinny. And he was the opposite of that. Now, I think Jackie Gleason's a good-looking dude.
He also had a great charisma and aura.
Which made him, I think, even more likable than maybe what he actually was.
Right.
But, yeah, I remember you were telling me before we started that if he would forget a line, he would pat his stomach.
There are certain things that you could look for in the episodes. When he forgets a line, he pats his stomach. Sometimes you'll see them cue each other in a weird way.
Yeah.
Or the best is when something screws up. Like, I watched the episode yesterday where he decides to take the job as janitor in the building for extra money. So he has the house phone put in, like a buzzer put into the apartment, and he's trying to eat, and they keep buzzing him to come fix things. It's buzzing, and he goes and picks up the phone, but whoever was doing the sound effect kept doing it. So it was still buzzing even though he picked it up. So he just hits the wall like it's broken.
Yeah, that's good improv.
It's a brilliant way to fix it.
One of the funniest scenes, or even just like one zinger, I think is really funny, is when Norton and Ralph are handcuffed and they're on the train.
Yeah.
They were supposed to go to the Raccoon Lodge vacation getaway thing, whatever they were doing. Art Connie was on the top bunk, Gleason's on the bottom bunk.
They switch a few times.
Yeah, and they're handcuffed to each other. And he goes, Ralph, you mind if I smoke? And Gleason just said rather stoically, I don't care if you burn.
It's such a great line.
But because
it's one of the best.
Oh my God! Because of what they were doing beforehand, he was he was annoyed. He was fried.
Well, that's what it always was. Like it was always like Ed Norton annoying the shit out of him.
Because Ed Norton was the child,
right.
Where Ralph was the brains behind the operation.
Yeah.
Norton was the child. So whatever Ralph wanted to do, Norton would follow. But then there were certain times where Ralph would feel like a little kid again because of Norton's naive skepticism and excitement. Specifically the raccoon thing when they were handcuffed to each other because Norton was going to do magic tricks. And one of the magic tricks was escape from the handcuffs.
Right.
And because he couldn't figure it out.
Which, by the way, how many sitcoms have stolen that exact premise from that?
Tons. It was a stark contrast to other shows back then. You had Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver and Ozzie and Harriet.
Right.
Where there was these characters that were comfortable, upper, middle class, suburban environments.
Right.
The Honeymooners was the complete opposite of that.
Right.
They showed struggle, and they showed a blue-collar existence, which was never touched upon before on television.
In so many other shows, even today, you never hear them ever mention their socioeconomic status. So it's almost not there. It's an erasure. But in erasing it, in never mentioning it, you're basically saying that it's not these people are rich. And Ralph Cramden worried about money. Lots of episodes are about work or about money. For people living in the middle class, it's something that you would look at and be like, my life is like that. I think it's a precursor to like Roseanne, like I said, maybe even something like Married with Children in the beginning before it got crazy, or Shameless. These are working people. They don't have all the money in the world like the characters from Friends, and they could just hang out in coffee shops.
And I think that's why it resonates still today.
You think so?
I think it does. I mean, if you could...
You think it will go away?
No, I think the Honeymooners will withstand the test of time, and Pikachu Detective won't.
Why do you think it will stand the test of time?
Here's why it lasts. It's a self-contained story for 30 minutes. And the plots are standard sitcom cliches, which weren't standard at the time.
Right.
You know, you have jealousy, get-rich-quick schemes, and comedic misunderstanding. Look at the time now. What works on television? Comedic misunderstanding.
Well, I mean, sitcoms are the same.
Get
It was the
rich quick schemes.
archetype of a sitcom.
Yeah. But it's the way that
but why aren't we
they're
watching?
developed.
But I don't think in 30 years we're going to be watching The Big Bang Theory.
I've never seen an episode because it's just not my cup of tea.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is not all sitcoms last. There's something special about The Honeymooners. I
mean, it's a guy who's flawed. His short temper gets the best of him. He lashes out at his wife. She goes back, and then at the end, he realizes that he's a fucking putz.
Yeah.
And he's going to apologize, and they make up with a hug and a kiss.
Yeah. And there's something melancholy about it. There's something really depressing about their lives that somehow rings true. You know, it's that thing of you have to make your own comedy because the world's a hard fucking place. And I think that's part of it. One of the reasons why it's been so successful as in the tradition of the New Year's Eve marathon is that New Year's Eve is all about forgetting the past and moving to the future and resolutions and all those things. And I think having something classic that you could hold on to, whether it be that or Twilight Zone, no matter what's going on in the world, if the Honeymooners is there every year, it's like you're starting the year with something very familiar. I think that's part of its appeal. Life is hard for lots of people, and the idea of a new year is scary. In the midst of all of that scary stuff, while you're going through the threshold of a new year, you've got something comfortable there to help usher you in. It's your old friends, the Cramptons. Most people probably don't rewatch those shows in between New Year's marathons, right? I know I personally watched a few for the last couple days because I was like preparing for our podcast, but I know that I probably won't watch them again until next New Year's.
But why is that, though?
Because one, I'm very familiar with them, so I don't need to watch them more than once a year. And two, I like the idea that you could have a party and you could feel nervous. Who am I going to kiss? Am I going to start my diet tomorrow? Is this going to be the year that I make more money? Is this going to be the year that I really have my success? But you could go home and you get home about 1 a.m. and the Honeymooners is on, and it's something that you know, it's something comfortable. It's
so
like
it's
an old
comforting.
warm blanket. Yeah.
Okay.
In the best way, I mean.
It still goes on those values that you still need a strong woman to be a dreamer. You still need your best friend to go through all the nonsense with you.
Right.
And at the end of the day, those people are your support system.
Right. They don't have any frills except relationships.
Themselves.
Yeah, that's
each
all
other.
that they
That's
have.
the frill. It's each other.
Appreciate all the Alices in your life. So, from the Brave Little Toaster, Emilio Sparks.
Hi. For Mr. Kryza every Wednesday, Mike Bongiorno.
We love you. Have a great New Year's. Never cruel or cowardly. Never give up. Never give in. Have a great New Year's.
Never eat pears.
Bye-bye.